All right, let's dive in. We're tackling presentations today. How to totally crush them, even when things go so wrong.
Yeah.
It's funny. We've got this podcast episode about Anna getting ready for a big presentation to help us.
I really like how they do it. Instead of just giving you the tips, they show you with Anna. Makes it way more interesting to listen to.
Yeah, it's like we're right there with her, feeling those presentation jitters. So the episode starts with her about to present her company's new product, the Imperial Lemon, it's called. But, she's got that classic problem, presentation nerves.
Yeah, they talk about that right up front. Actually, the episode says it's totally normal to feel anxious. They even say public speaking is one of the biggest fears people have. So Anna's not alone.
For sure. But the podcast doesn't just leave her hanging with those nerves, right? They give her and us listeners a tool structure. They
Yeah.
give her this clear framework. Start with the overview, hit the main points, smooth transitions, and then a strong finish with a call to action.
I bet some people are thinking, structure. Yeah, I know. But get this. There's a brain reason why structure works so well. Our brains, they're always looking for patterns, trying to connect things. So when you present in a structured way, you're working with how our brains are wired. It makes it easier for the audience to follow and remember.
It's like you're giving them a map, right? They know where they are, where they're going, and how to get there. Okay, so back to Anna. She's got this great structure ready to go,
Hmm?
and then, well, things get a little messy.
Oh, Anna. She mixes up her company's name, then she accidentally says how unhappy she is to be there. Gotta admit, though, I've been there. We've all had those moments when nerves just take over.
Totally. But the episode doesn't just poke fun at her. It uses those mess-ups to teach us something. Like, it points out those slip-ups happen when you don't practice enough. Rehearsing, even just to yourself in the mirror, makes a huge difference.
It's all about getting your brain and mouth working together, that muscle memory. The more you practice, the more confident you'll be, and less likely to trip over your words when it matters. What I really like is how Anna bounces back from those first mistakes. She takes a breath, gets herself together, and goes right back to that clear structure we talked about.
See, structure wins again. It's like a safety net, when you're up there presenting. But even with the best prep, sometimes, well, stuff happens. And for Anna, that stuff is a tech fail. Her computer decides to take a break right when she needs it most.
The tech meltdown, we've all been there, staring at that blank screen, feeling the panic rise. But this is where the episode gets really good. It makes you think, okay, what would I do? It's like a masterclass in thinking on your feet.
Exactly. So let's imagine we're Anna. Slides are gone, clock's ticking. What are our choices? What would you do if you suddenly had to prevent without any tech?
Okay, hold on. Before we even get there, let's rewind a bit. The golden rule of presentations. Always, always, always have a backup plan. Not just any backup, though. Think about the good and bad of different options. Like, okay, is your presentation saved online in the cloud? Maybe give out a copy on a USB drive. Or even, and I know this sounds old school, printed handouts. Each one's got pluses and minuses. You got to decide based on, your specific presentation and who you're talking to.
Right. Makes sense. Thinking through those backup options ahead of time, that could definitely save you a lot of stress. But okay, let's say, just for fun, Anna didn't have any of those backups. Say she forgot her USB, the white's dead, no printer anywhere. What then?
That's when you got to channel your inner presentation ninja. First thing, don't panic. Just tell everyone what's up. A simple, hold on, folks, little technical issue, that goes a long way. Then figure out your options. Can you restart the computer fast? Is there another device you could use?
I think a lot of people would actually like that honesty. It's real, right? We all know tech can be a pain.
Exactly. Audiences are usually pretty understanding. But let's say restarting's not going to work. Then you got to think beyond the slides. Can you use a whiteboard? Maybe a flip chart? Could you even just have a discussion with the audience about your topic? Get them talking.
Oh, that's a good point. It might even turn out to be more fun than the original presentation. Sometimes those unexpected things, they make you get creative.
And that reminds me of a big thing this episode talks about: adaptability. It's not about having this perfect scripted presentation. It's about rolling with it, keeping your audience interested no matter what happens.
Okay, so for our listeners out there, they might be thinking, all right, that's great for Anna, but what about me? What can they take away from this to be more adaptable in their own presentations?
One thing to try is practicing different ways of presenting. Try doing it a few times without any slides at all. It'll make you really comfy with the material, and you'll have to think about different ways to explain things.
That's a great tip. Like, you're taking away your training wheels. You have to rely on your own skills.
Exactly. Another good thing to do is brainstorm all the things that could go wrong. What could happen during your presentation? What if the mic dies? What if someone keeps interrupting?
I like that. It's like mental prep for those unexpected things.
It is. Thinking through those things ahead of time, you'll be way more ready to handle them smoothly if they actually happen. This whole conversation has got me thinking about the audience. We've been focused on Anna's stuff and the text stuff, but what about the energy in the room?
Oh, good point. The audience can make or break you,
Yeah.
right? Have you ever been to a presentation where the speaker was great, but the audience was just dead?
Hmm.
It's hard to keep up your energy when you're not getting anything back from them.
Totally. So, how can we, as presenters, make sure the audience is feeling it and engaged?
Yeah, how do we do that?
First, remember the audience is on your side. They want you to do well. They're there to learn, be entertained, be inspired, right? So start by acknowledging them. Make eye contact, smile, let them know you're happy to be there.
That's such a simple reminder, but it's important. Like you're saying, hey, let's have a conversation, not just talking at them.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions, even a quick raise your hand if, to get a feel for the room. Those little things can make a big difference in keeping people with you.
It's about making that connection, right? Showing that we're all in this together. The episode doesn't come right out and talk about audience engagement, but it's interesting how those little tips come out as we talk about the story.
It's also interesting how Anna messing up those moments, they actually make her more relatable to us as listeners. It shows she's human like us.
It's that realness again, right? We connect with people who are genuine, even if they're not perfect. I think that goes for presentations, too.
Yeah.
A totally polished, rehearsed presentation can feel, I don't know, robotic.
Mm-hmm.
But when you let your guard down a bit, show who you are, it makes it more interesting and memorable for the audience.
And this idea of being real connects with another takeaway from the episode, finding your own voice as a presenter. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. In fact, the more you're yourself, your own style, the more real and engaging you'll be.
I love that. It's so freeing, right? You don't have to fit into some mold of what a good presenter is supposed to be.
Exactly. And that brings us to another point. Presentations are a journey, not a destination. You're always learning, always growing every time you're in front of an audience.
It's like we're on that journey with Anna, right? We see her good moments, her stumbles, and how she grows. And I think it reminds us all, even the pros, that there's always room to get better.
For sure. There's always something new to learn, a new technique to try, a new way to connect with people. Actually, that makes me wonder, what's sticking out to you so far as the most useful thing from this deep dive?
That's a good question. I think what really hits home for me is the focus on resilience. It's not about never making mistakes. It's about having the skills and the attitude to recover when things go off script.
And that's a great transition to something else. We've talked about internal and external challenges, but what about those curveballs that come from the audience itself?
Ooh, good point. We've all seen it. The person with the totally off-topic question, the person who wants to argue about everything. How do you deal with that and not lose your cool? It can be really tough to stay on track when you feel like someone's trying to derail you. What are some ways to handle those tricky audience moments?
Well, the first thing is to remember those tough questions, they usually come from a place of wanting to know more or understand better. It's not usually personal. So try to go into those questions with, an open mind and respect.
Like you said, turn that potential conflict into a chance to learn something.
Exactly. And another tip, really listen. Focus on what they're asking or saying. Repeat their question back to them so you know you've got it right. This shows them you're paying attention, but it also gives you a sec to think before you answer.
That's a good one. I've seen so many presenters just jump in with a defensive answer before they've even really heard the question.
And that just puts a wall between you and the audience. It works way better to stay calm, say you see their point, and then give your own view clearly.
This makes me think of what we talked about before about thinking ahead about how the audience might react. If you know your topic might get people fired up, take some time to think about those tough questions and how you answer them.
Definitely. If you go in ready for those tough questions, it takes a lot of pressure off. Oh, and here's a bonus tip. Sometimes the best way to handle a tough question is to throw it back to the audience. Ask, what do you all think? Or, has anyone else had something like this happen?
Ooh, that's smart. It takes the heat off you and makes the presentation more like a conversation. Which, brings me to something else this episode sort of shows us, how important nonverbal communication is.
Yes. It's not just what we say, it's how we say it, right? Our body language, our tone, our facial expressions, it all sends a message to the audience.
And sometimes those nonverbal things, they don't match up with what we're saying.
Yeah.
Like, when someone says, I'm fine, but their body language is like, nope, definitely not fine.
Exactly. That's why we got to pay attention to our nonverbal stuff when we're presenting. Are you making eye contact?
Yeah.
Smiling? Are you using open, welcoming gestures? Little things like that can make a huge difference in how people hear what you're saying.
It goes back to being real, right? When your words and your body language match up, it tells the audience you mean what you say.
For sure. And that realness, it can be really powerful. It's what makes people want to listen. It's what makes them remember what you said.
It's like that saying, people forget what you said, they forget what you did, but they never forget how you made them feel.
That's a great way to put it. And I think this whole conversation is a good example of how we can learn things from places you wouldn't expect. This podcast, it's about Anna or her presentation, right? But we've gone deeper and found all this stuff about communication, bouncing back, being real, and how powerful it is to connect with people.
It shows you can learn anywhere, anytime, if you're open to it. And, thinking about where we started with Anna and that computer meltdown, it makes me think sometimes the hardest things are the things that teach us the most.
That's a great point. Because in those moments when we have to think fast and change plans, we often find strengths and creative solutions we didn't even know we had.
So true. It's like those unexpected turns in life, they can lead to something even better.
Well said. And I think that's a perfect thought for our listeners to take away. Embrace those challenges, be ready to adapt, and never forget how powerful your own voice is. You never know what amazing things you might find just around the corner.
I love it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into presentations. We hope you've learned some things and feel ready to tackle your next one with confidence. And remember, like Anna showed us, even when life throws lemons at you, you can make something amazing out of them.